Hello and welcome. I'm Susanne, your guide throughout this video. The hormones of fertility have a profound effect, not only on women, but their menfolk, and strangers, and anybody else in their lives. This video is mainly concerned with the physical changes that happen in the woman's body, and the feelings and emotions that accompany those changes. As a child, a little girl already has her hormones of fertility. However, they're not of sufficient quantity to make her fertile. As she reaches the transition from child to maid, puberty, her fertility hormones increase and she has a few anovulatory cycles. After several anovulatory cycles, the girl then starts on her lifetime of menstrual cycles. The girl's fertility switches on and the young girl carries on cycling, year in, year out, until she reaches her next transition, from maid to mother. During pregnancy, the woman gets off her menstrual cycle and is under the influence of her pregnancy hormones. They increase in amount throughout pregnancy. After birthing, there is no placenta and no placental hormones, and her hormones of fertility have not recommenced. Her hormones of breastfeeding get underway, and she has a lovely period of quiescence while she is breastfeeding. Not long after that, she gets back to her cycles. The woman will go back and forth between pregnancy and her hormone cycle. The next transition for the woman is from mother to matriarch. Eventually, the levels of hormones of fertility begin to diminish. The hormone cycles gradually become erratic and all over the place. This is menopause. Menopause lasts a while. Once it's over, the woman's hormones level out. However, she still has them, but not of a sufficient quantity to make her fertile. Menarche. It usually happens about 12 years of age. It can be before or after that time. How old were you when you started your periods?
I was 13 years old when I got my first period.
Oh, about 12 years old.
I was 12.
I think I was 12. 12? I think I was probably 14.
I think I was 12 as well.
How old is a woman when she experiences menopause?
40?
No, 50.
60?
No, it's
35.
I suppose anywhere between, early menopause from 35 up to the age of about 50, 55. I know some ladies that still have their periods at 57.
Women usually go through menopause about 52 years of age, which means that they've been on their fertility cycles for 40 years of their life.
No, I've never calculated how many you have over your lifetime. It's a lot.
And now for a brief review of the hormones of fertility. There are many, many, many hormones involved, but just for simplicity we'll keep down to 4 hormones. This diagram represents the 28 days of a natural menstrual cycle. Day 1 is considered to be the start of the cycle. The lower part of the diagram shows the uterine cycle, the endometrium, the lining of the uterus. At menstruation, it is shed under the influence of hormones. It is rebuilt, prepared for an implantation. With no pregnancy, it diminishes, then is discarded. The next part of the diagram shows the ovarian cycle. Under the influence of hormones, the ovary is prepared, an ovum, an egg, develops. After ovulation, the body of the ovary is maintained, then the next follicle is prepared. Ovulation occurs 14 days before menstruation. The upper part of the diagram shows levels of 4 fertility hormones. The first hormone we will meet is luteinizing hormone. This is a hormone produced by the pituitary gland. It creates a lipid-rich environment for the developing ovum. It maintains the ovary and it supports estrogen and progesterone. At ovulation, there is a surge in luteinizing hormone, and after that the level decreases. It starts rising again before menstruation, as it has to prepare for another ovum. The essence of luteinizing hormone is creativity, growth, and stimulation. The next hormone is follicle-stimulating hormone. This hormone is produced in the pituitary gland. As its name suggests, its function is to stimulate the follicle, the part of the ovary where the ovum develops. It follows a similar graph to the luteinizing hormone. It surges at ovulation, decreases afterwards, and begins to rise again before menstruation to start preparing for the next ovum. The essence of follicle-stimulating hormone is creativity, growth, strength, and stimulation. This hormone is estrogen. It's an ovarian hormone that excites plain muscle. It plays a part in developing all female characteristics such as breasts, girly curves, and the lining of the uterus. During the menstrual cycles, estrogen levels surge immediately before ovulation. They begin to decrease at ovulation, rise more steadily about a week later, and fall off again before menstruation. Estrogen is an excitable feminine hormone. Whenever anything exciting is happening, estrogen is there. Progesterone is another ovarian hormone. As its name suggests, it is for gestation. It prepares and protects the lining of the uterus for implantation of an embryo. Progesterone levels remain low during ovulation and start to rise about 4 days later. When this hormone notices that there is no pregnancy, the levels drop. The lining of the uterus is no longer supported and menstruation occurs. Progesterone is a motherly kind of hormone. She just loves to grow babies. Now, it's all very well to know the names and functions of the hormones of fertility and for how long they affect a woman's life. But what about the effects on her body, her emotions, and her feelings? It's time to meet the hormone hat. The effects of the hormones of fertility are as obvious as making a fashion statement. I'm going to tell you some of the cyclical physical changes that occur and the emotions and feelings that accompany those changes. Introducing the hormone hat. I will begin with a child who already has her hormones of fertility. They're not of sufficient quantity yet to make her fertile. She wears her hat straight on her head. And how does she feel?
Well, you don't. You're innocent. You're just free and carefree, happy. Yeah, simple. You enjoy life. Don't really think about those sort of things.
As the girl nears puberty, her hormones of fertility begin to increase in amount. The girl is in transition now from child to maid, and her body lays down more fat. And she develops breast buds, a waist, and hips. She can feel pleased, sulky, happy about it, or quite embarrassed. She begins to grow pubic and axillary hair in places she never had before. How does that make her feel?
I guess when I first got my first pubic hair, I don't know, wasn't a great fan of it really. No.
Bit embarrassing actually. I was so embarrassed. Yeah.
The girl feels curious, a bit embarrassed, and shy. She has several anovulatory periods, then becomes fertile. Her fertility is switched on. Her menstrual periods become regular.
It was a big change, and I just sort of coped. It's no problem, sailed through it.
Let's take up the story from when the maid is established in her cycles and she's just finished menstruating. She is at this point in her cycle. The woman has an increased blood supply to her head and is more clear-minded. Her verbal and thinking skills are enhanced. She can speak more clearly and she can hear more acutely.
Fine, light, ready to go out there, happy, yeah, everything's okay.
Now the woman is in the first part of her menstrual cycle and approaching ovulation. She's at this point in her cycle. This is time of enticement behavior, and her body and mind react accordingly. Her pupils dilate and she blinks more frequently. She feels pretty, flirtatious and attractive. Now her pheromone levels increase. Pheromones are the body's aromatic aphrodisiac. Any bee who has been to bee school will tell you when a flower is ready for fertilizing. And how does she feel? Gorgeous! She has breast changes, an increase in mammary tissue. So how does that feel?
I always talk about it. They get bigger, so I'm usually pretty excited.
Yeah, same here, though they're quite painful, so.
Oh, I feel, yeah, quite probably perky, want to go out, socialise a bit. You feel good about yourself, yeah.
And that's not all. Her erectile tissue becomes sensitized. And what are we talking about here? Nipples. They pop up at the slightest thing. Even a breeze sends them crazy. She has changes in her cervical mucus. It changes in quantity, texture and amount. It becomes less acid, becomes alkaline. One drop will stretch 12 centimeters. It promotes the transport of sperm. So how does that feel?
Womanly, probably. And it doesn't alter me in my mind and emotion, I don't think, but I just think, oh, it's just part of my body changing and functioning and doing what it does.
Time to be careful because I could get pregnant.
Her libido increases. It tickles her fancy. Her temperature increases. So what does she do to her clothes? Throws them all off. And she becomes a red-hot lover. She ovulates! Party time! She's at this point in her cycle.
Very up and, yeah, lots of energy, feel great.
Sometimes I have quite a lot of pain, which is called mid-cycle pain, and I have to curl up in bed with a hot water bottle and some painkillers.
And now she no longer needs her exciting accessories. The breasts can go back to normal. She's no longer a red-hot lover. Her nipples start behaving themselves. Her pupils go back to normal. She's finished with ovulation. She no longer needs her exciting feather or her pheromones. Her body stays still for a little while to allow any sperm, should there be any, to reach their destination, and she feels full-blown, well-contented. She's now in the second part of her cycle and moving towards menstruation. She's at this point in her cycle. Now her body prepares for pregnancy, should there be one, and it retains salt and water. And how does that feel?
I get a pretty bloated feeling, and yeah, I get sort of some premenstrual tension, not a lot, even some headaches maybe sometimes, but mainly bloated and yeah, a bit frumpy.
The blood supply increases to her uterus and decreases in her head, giving her a poor memory and making her feel emotionally labile. Her mind feels like a feather duster. And how does she feel?
Might explain a few things. I didn't know you. Oh, concentration.
I didn't know that.
She continues to have physical changes. Her lovely high bounce breasts become hard and lumpy. And how does that feel?
It's the stay away sort of feel, like don't come near me. Don't even think about it. Yeah.
She has problems with nurturing. She can neither give nor receive. She feels a terrible loneliness and sadness. She longs to be hugged, but don't touch me. And now her blood sugar levels drop. And why would you eat one piece when you can eat the whole block? And how does she feel?
Yes, yep. I think we all crave chocolate.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Crave chocolate, and I do eat it usually, which is really bad.
The sebum in her skin increases, making her skin oilier. She gets class 1 zits. Her cervical mucus changes texture, it becomes like paste, it becomes acid and hostile to sperm. And how does she feel? Hostile and unlovable. The next thing to happen is her endometrium becomes ischemic. That means the blood supply is cut off, which means her endometrium is destroyed.
I don't usually think of it as part of my cycle. It's you have the chocolate and then a couple of days later then you get your period and you think, oh, that's why I was feeling like that. I never really put it together until they arrive, and then I think, oh, that's what it was.
The uterus prepares to shed its endometrium. At this point in their cycle, many women feel they need to be alone. She feels totally inward looking. She needs solitude and stillness, a time to reflect. But all too often she doesn't get this, and with all the other things piling up in her, what happens? PMT, an excessive, disordered, debilitating concurrent symptoms.
Do I get premenstrual tension, Will?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Yeah, it affects me big time. I don't know, I just get frustrated at the tiniest things, especially if I've got two brothers and they'll just do the tiniest things and you just like, I don't know, you just end up running away, locking myself in a room or something.
I don't really get cranky, I just get sort of depressed, sort of overreact to small things, sort of a bit sad.
Yeah, me too. Like little things, and you just overreact about them big time. You know, you try and you think, no, I don't usually react to these sorts of things, and then
That's the thing, you know that you're overreacting.
And
but
you know you're the stereotype of a PMT female.
and you try so hard not to be, but
exactly.
you just are.
Yeah, that's so true.
She's at this point in her cycle. And then she menstruates. Her body sheds the lining of her uterus, the endometrium. And how does she feel?
I feel fine because I know then that I'm, I've